It's a good morning.
In my zone, I'm feeling it. Okay, so today, are you fighting the holiday hangover? You might be, right? So if
Metaphorically speaking,
yes,
let's be clear.
not a real hangover. If it's really a hangover, it's what, Wednesday? So you got to work on that. Then you are definitely in the holiday hangover. But like you just had some time off. You just took a little bit of a break. It was the slow season, right? And some people were hitting FSBOs and expires first thing on the 1st, 8 a.m. Other people haven't picked up the phone, and it's now the 6th, right? So where do you fall in that spectrum? If you are lacking motivation, we're going to cover today how you can jumpstart your year, get you on track to just crush.
Get back in the deal. Get back in the game.
Come on. We need you, Maverick.
Right. So it was interesting when we were going over the two potential topics, and this one, Jake was like, well, from a sales perspective, as a salesman and, running the sales team, I like this one. And you try to flop to the other one, but I like this one too, because honestly, it was a challenge for me. I started to get back into the groove right after Christmas, and then bam, instant, extra. I mean, that was a long holiday between the two, since they both hit on a Friday, which was wonderful. 2020 was like teed up to be a fantastic year. All of the holidays fell on the right day, and I mean, we all needed the R&R, I believe, but it's been difficult for me to get back in the groove. And so I was like, man, that just resonates more with me personally. And so I think, what I'm focused on, just to share with everybody, to get back in the groove, to get back on track, to get back on focus, are a few things. But personally, what I've always found is that whenever you stop that ball rolling, it's very difficult to get that momentum back, to get it to, back in action. And there's only a few ways that I've ever found. And the first one, as we have discussed many times, is to have the goal. Having the goal is the beginning of getting the momentum back, the beginning of getting clear on what it is you need to do. Because from there, even if you don't have the action steps yet, at least your mind will start to draw you to some of the things, like maybe even this live or podcast, to get you back into gear, to start thinking about what it is you need to do in order to achieve that goal. And it'll draw you to the right people, the right information, the right resources, if you keep that goal top of mind and in front of you. Now, personally, I keep my goals right where I take my stuff out of my pockets, and I just have them written on a piece of paper. It's like literally a piece of printer paper, and I chicken scratched them down, folded it in half, and thumbtacked it on there. It's the most, like, just down and dirty way you could do it. And part of me, whenever I do something like that, I always think like, well, what if somebody else sees this? What if somebody else sees my goals and thinks I'm crazy because they're big, or because, what if I don't achieve them and then they know that I failed, right? Like, those are all the things that go through my mind, especially right now. I put my home on the market and I have people going through there. So I literally, because of that thought, Jake, which I think is interesting, took it down and put it behind my, watch box, so that people couldn't see it. But the problem is now I can't see it. Yeah. And honestly, obviously we have goals for the company, goals for the business. I was evaluating my goals for 2020 this morning, looking at them. I put them on a postcard, and I actually had the postcard. I took it to Staples to have it laminated, which was cool. And I was looking at where I succeeded and where I fell short. And that just helps me recalibrate for, this year. And I didn't just set a 1-year goal. I set, a 1-year goal, 3-year goal. I didn't go as far as 5 last year. I don't know why. I just 1 and 3, and I was good. I guess that's all the room I had on the front and back of the postcard, or the note card. But yeah, it starts with the goal and getting clear on that. And I think one of my favorite things as far as setting goals is, see it as it is, not worse than it is. Right? That's a Tony Robbins quote. And that's what I was thinking through this morning, where I was seeing some of the places where I fell short last year. Like, okay, here's what it is. It's not worse than that. I do have a viable external excuse with COVID, which I don't like, because I like to be a victim, not a victor. Or I mean, a victor, not a victim. Jake, if I misspeak, you gotta correct me sometimes. You just let those slide.
No, registered as you were also fixing it. So
yeah, you know what I'm saying. I don't like to have external excuses get in the way of my internal personal goals. This morning I was talking to a fellow businessman, and he was concerned about politics. And I think this year the politics have driven me more nuts than ever before in the history of my life. I don't know, huh?
I said I can vouch for that.
Yeah. They've just really like weighed on me, and I don't know why. There's not much that I can personally do other than go out and vote and maybe support financially. But I was talking to him, and he had some concerns about things, and I said, look, at the end of the day, we're going to be smart enough to maneuver and agile enough to figure out what it is that we need to do in order to accomplish the goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the rules might change slightly, but it still doesn't change the game that you're going to play. And like it's so funny, like because there's little things that I take for granted that I just do every single day that allow me to stay on track. But even I, like, we fight this, right? Like on a monthly basis, right? We have these lulls, and like this is something that drives the two of us crazy, where so many of our sales comes at the end of the month, right?
Yeah.
And there's two different like reasons. One predominantly is around the internal, like what are we doing? And then there's some external, but again, I hate blaming any kind of external or having any kind of reasoning externally.
Yeah, you got to be sure that it's not an inaccurate, like a story that you're telling yourself, a limiting belief. I mean, I have lots of them, and sometimes I recognize them, sometimes I don't. But it's the game. It's the game. It's you against you. And it's. I was talking to my dad the other day, and I got a lot of irons in the fire. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I got a lot of things that I'm doing right now, and he said something about stress. And I was like, yeah, I tend to. He's like, but you don't really have any stress. He's like, it's not real. It's just you. You're making it up in your head. Because at the end of the day, we can only look for today, right? Like we can't really control tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to take care of itself. And he's right. Like today, I got plenty to eat. I got warm coffee. I got a nice cozy sweater on. Like, yeah, where's the stress come from? It's from me pushing myself to be more, on a regular basis. And I think that's really good. But so that's step one is the goal. I think step two is having the plan and the action steps so that you can measure those things on a regular basis, and what those need to be for us at Market Maker. It's the same as it was for me and my real estate business, right? There's the input, right, and then there's the output, the throughput, right? Like the amount of leads that we generate, the amount of conversations that those lead to, which would be appointments for us, the amount of show rate of those appointments, the amount of close rate of the appointments that we have, exact same thing that we prescribe for our customers. And, looking at those things does tend to make you a little bit less stressed when it comes to hitting your goal. Now, I don't know if everybody's like me, wired like that, where it's like, I got to do what I set out to do.
and I think that fundamentally is part of the problem. Everybody who has the desire, it's like Reese used to always say, everybody wants to be a gold medalist, but nobody wants to train like one, right? Like,
oh yeah, I think Kevin Hart's even better. Kevin Hart says everybody wants to be famous, nobody wants to put in the work.
Right. Yeah. But we had Chad Hedrick, who won however many world championships for roller skating, and then switched to rollerblading, and then switched to speed skating on ice, and went to the Olympics and won a gold medal there, medaled like 3 or 5 times or whatever. Go back and listen to his podcast or Facebook Live whenever you get a chance if you have not heard that one yet, because that was something where he was breaking it down. He was like, in my sport, hundredths of a second is the difference between being medaling and winning the gold medal and not winning anything at all. Hundredths of a second. So like every minute of every day training matters, because it could be the difference between 100th of a second or not, Yeah.
And preparation, putting in the work, hitting the practice, measuring the goal.
And it's funny because he had a goal, right? Like, I want to win. And he probably had a time that he thought would be the winning thing. And then it was just reverse engineering, not based off of his theory, right? Like he's never won a gold medal, but he had coaches that had seen what it takes and said, this is what you need to do, execute this plan. And I think that that's a really, really big thing of where people kind of fall off is like the work that has to get done every single day, because in real estate, you're so dramatically delayed in your gratification that the work now doesn't show up on the scoreboard until 2 months down the road, sometimes 3, 5, 6 months down the road.
Which is what makes right now such a dangerous time, you know? Yeah, because if you're still coasting, which it's really easy to do, you're gonna pay with pain, you know, next month in March, and you got to get clear and you got to get a plan. Even if you're not sure of the plan, like having action steps is planning. What is it? It's failing to plan is planning to fail, right? Yep. So like having some action steps that you can take that you know every day, which brings me to the next one, which is habit, right? Like the success comes out of the habits. I'm having difficulty right now, Jake. I'm having tremendous difficulty with my habits because I'm trying to get a rhythm of going to the gym. And like, because I'm a sales guy, I sell myself. Like every night I sell myself on going in the morning. And then in the morning I sell myself on going in the evening. And then in the evening, I'm like, well, it is kind of late. You know, I did work really hard today. I'll just do an extra day on Saturday to put in my 5 days, which was my goal, you know, and I'm having trouble finding this rhythm, right? Of like when to hit it. I don't want to sacrifice, you know, family time in the evening. Don't want to sacrifice work time during the day. So that really leaves the morning. Don't want to be groggy throughout the day. You know, my office is 30 minutes away. So like if I want to take a nap, it's very difficult if I'm tired, and I'm not as effective if I'm tired. And I'm like, so anyway, I'm having trouble creating this habit through all these stories in my head that are inaccurate thinking, that are just stories, just made up things in my head. And a lot of them are centered around all the irons I have in the fire, all the projects that I'm working on. And I'm like, well, once I get these things complete, then I'll get myself a good habit. But the problem is, it's none of this external crap. It's just me not actually doing what I set out to do, which is, you know, it can pertain to business, can pertain to a personal goal like hitting the gym, can pertain to a relationship goal. You know, one of the things with relationships, I feel like, you know, I put all this time and study and effort into business, right? Like you can look at my phone. I constantly have like some business book that I'm listening to, et cetera, et cetera. Very rarely do I put that kind of effort into, you know, my marriage, right? Where I'm like studying things in the past. I recognize this and I changed that. But anyway, I'm getting off topic.
Here's my huge takeaway from our conversation, that something I take for granted, right? So like we work in a company, there's 20 people or so, right? That work in our company. We have certain things that are just habitual, right? That it can't be skipped, right? So
like this.
For this, the marketing huddles we have, the sales huddles that I have, and like they're all based around metrics. Every single one is based around someone manually having to be responsible for a number and enter it in every single day, and have other people have to see the result that they have to put in that they're responsible for, right? So like me personally.
Let's elaborate on that. I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah, so I'm responsible for the overall sales. The sales guys are obviously responsible for their sales numbers. Our SDR is responsible for his numbers of calls and whatever to set up appointments that turn into sales. From the marketing perspective, Chance is responsible for all of the spend and lead numbers that he's got to enter in manually every single day. Maddie's responsible for the numbers that she enters in from the appointments and where we're tracking. But every single one is broken out based off of what we need to hit for the month, and if it's going to, and what percentage pacing we're at right now. So like this month, right now, early in the month, right, we're 60% over pace in terms of sales as of this morning, right? So I know that. My blood pressure, like right now, is not any less than what it normally is. But when it gets in the middle of the month and we're 60% of pace, so we're 40% behind pace, my blood pressure starts rising a little bit, right? And there's different actions that causes me to take, right? And I know that being by yourself as a real estate agent, it is so hard, because if it was just me, right, and you didn't exist, and Pat didn't exist, and the whole company didn't exist, and it was just me, do you know how many times that I would fill out that daily report?
Probably once a month.
Once a month, probably in recap.
At the end of the month?
At the end of the month to see why the hell I didn't hit the goal, right? Like
What if you even knew what to fill out? That's half the problem.
If I could even know where to start, right? And just otherwise just be like, oh, I should have had more leads, or the lead should have been better. You know what I mean? Like
right. External. We all come to our own defense. You know, there was a book I read, I forget the name of it, but maybe it was The Power of Focus. I don't know for sure, but they talk about like coming to your own defense and like appealing to this court in the universe in the sky. You know what I mean? And
you
like,
got to find that.
Here's why.
We just talked
this
about
is not
sales huddle this morning.
Yeah, here's why this is not fair, right? And like everybody has these things that they do, and you can see them a lot of times in disagreements with people. Like if you have a disagreement with someone and they don't take the time to listen to your side, they just constantly rush to their own defense. Well, you know, it's like that meme, you know, with a brain that's like glowing and like the different levels, and then finally, law, right? Like the super lit up. Like that's how I think about those people. Like, oh, they're up here where they're just not very enlightened to consider the possibility that they're wrong, and instead of coming to their own defense, thinking, well, you know, maybe I should listen to this. How can I fix it, right? And I think that, you know, more than having a disagreement with somebody else, we do that with ourselves. And you know, here's why I didn't get to this, or here's why I didn't get to that. It's not my fault. It's this external thing, or it's that external thing, and we're all guilty. But step one of changing it is really awareness. And awareness it comes tied to the goal. You know, like if you're really going to have a goal and you're really going to actually, you know, pursue that goal, you have to pursue it to the best of your ability at all costs. And even if you fail, it's okay, because you tried your hardest, you tested your mettle, you know what you were able to do, what you weren't able to do, and you've learned something. Now you can either adjust the goal, you can adjust the action steps. You know, one of the things that I think it was Reese told me, he's like, you know, when there's too much tension, you know, between the goal and the outcome, he's like, people tend to just shrink back and lower the goal instead. And, you know, that's okay too. Sometimes the juice is not worth the squeeze. I think that a lot of times, you know, like with New Year's resolutions, for example, people just pluck. I didn't create a New Year's resolution this year. I was like, you know what? It's an exercise in futility. I'm not going to do it. I've got goals. I don't have resolutions. And there's no reason for me to give a, you know, toast everybody and tell them what I'm going to do, which I think, like, I forget the percentage, like 90% of New Year's resolutions are never kept, you know.
Probably in the first week.
Yeah. And so we're so used to doing that. And what that causes is distrust within ourselves, you know, like we've discussed previously. That distrust is something that is a habit, unfortunately.
It is.
It'll start small. I tell people all the time, you don't go to the gym and lift 50-pound dumbbells. You go and you lift whatever you can lift, 5-pound dumbbells. You got to work that muscle. And even if it's something as small as what the guy said, make your bed every day. Start there. You know what I mean? Make a commitment. These are just little micro commitments that you make to yourself on a regular basis. And as you do those, you'll build that trust within yourself, and you'll build that muscle of, I can, you know, accomplish the things that I set out to accomplish. For me, you know, like one of those exercises is making a list. Every week I make a list and I take what I didn't accomplish and I put it on the new list. But I'll tell you what, there's a tremendous amount of satisfaction for me in checking things off. You know, like I've checked off already, today's Wednesday, a week's worth of work by Wednesday morning, because I'm like, feel so far behind, you know? So I'm just like, I'm going to knock this stuff out.
You got to check this off.
Yeah.
And you know, like it's just all a battle between the ears. You know,
it is, Jake. It is.
When we talked about this, you know, you're like, well, this is just going to be mindset. And like, it is so crucial, especially when you're on your own, right? Like if you have a big team that you're responsible for, like you've got to unfortunately be responsible for not only your mindset, but everybody's mindset, right? Like, because
A players and B players, all right?
That is very true, right? Like that is probably a good way to filter whether or not how much time you have to spend on someone's mindset and recorrecting it, right? But when it's just you, it is really hard, because like what they talk about in tracking numbers and you know, what's tracked is improved. What's tracked and reported it improves dramatically. What's tracked and reported publicly increases like exponentially, right?
Yeah.
So it's like watching in the book, I forgot what book it is, but in the book they talk about a basketball game, right? Like if you walk by two different basketball courts outside, and one of them's keeping score and the other one's just shooting around not keeping score, can you tell? Hell yeah, you can tell.
Yeah.
There's blood and sweat and some arguing and high intensity, like someone's winning, someone's losing, the other one's just, I'm just having fun, right? You can tell the difference. So if you are by yourself, like one thing that I would do is get a group of people that are like-minded, wanting to grow, wanting to get better, that I can kind of become a little bit of like an accountability group with, to where it's like, okay, this is what my goal is. And based off of what I know and what I did research on, this is the action steps that I need to do, right? And this is the activity that I need to do every day. Like I always go back to what you said, you told me a long time ago. If like Anthony or someone in your family got into real estate, what would you tell them to do? Like it's the same thing every single time. Like
it's pretty simple.
If you do not have a buyer to put in your car today, find a buyer to put in your car, right? Like don't think about anything else. Just make it that simple, right?
Every day, because the rest works itself out. You know, I think we always talk about the commission roller coaster where someone gets a few deals piled up and then they spend their time like, you know, spit polishing these deals, you know, making sure everything goes smooth, making sure they close. And is that really necessary, or is that something that you're doing that is maybe a little self-sabotage unintentionally, because you're artificially throttling your success because that's all you feel like you're worthy of? You know, one of the things that you and I talk about are in sales in general, like why certain salespeople perform with the same opportunity, like right, like especially a real estate team is an excellent example. You give everybody the same amount of leads. Some people just run and make a bunch of money. The other people, they're mediocre, and then the other people like just fail. Right? Why is that? Well, there's a tremendous amount of between the ears of what we have told ourselves we're worth and what we have told ourselves we are allowed to make. And I'll tell you, it's really interesting to watch. A lot of salespeople only make what they feel like they are worth. Why? Why is that? You have unlimited opportunity for unlimited income. Well, a lot of it is, again, a limiting belief. And the only way I know to change that is to get around people who are doing better than you on a regular basis, to get around people who will elevate you, you know, and hold you accountable, and, you know, to have some goals that you feel like you should accomplish. You know, I've always wanted to, just for no particular reason. I don't even know if I want it anymore. Of course I do. Let's be real. A private plane, right? Like not like a little prop plane, like a little Cessna, right? Like a jet, you know. I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have any reason to have that. I just don't like flying commercial, Jake. A NetJet card will do. And let me tell you, I could go get one. But the thing about it is this. When I think about it, right, even though it's a little ridiculous, I think, well, other people have it. Why not me?
I can just have it real easy.
That's one of the ways that I'm able to justify like reaching and striving and pushing myself further. You know, why not? You know, like the saying in the movie, one man can do, another can do, right? Like, why not? Why not? I can't think of any reason why not, other than, yeah, no. I mean, for me to be able to have it because I'm so conservative, it would have to be like a penny to me as far as the expense is concerned. You know what I mean? Then it's like, well, yeah, of course, you know, not going to fly private or commercial. But especially with all this weird stuff going on with COVID, they're talking about these vaccine IDs to be able to get on planes and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's just getting a little weird, you know. I don't know. Anyway, that's one of the ways that I try to elevate what I feel like I'm worth, and that's why I share that. Is just you know, if they can have it, why not you?
And if you ever put yourself in a situation where you're setting a goal that's like a really, oh, that would be nice, you know what I mean? And it's not really like, you're just teeing yourself up to be in that perpetual cycle of like missing a goal, because it's
which is what I do with the plane, probably. You know what I mean? Like, that'd be
it's nice. Not that important, right? Like it's not really a goal yet. You know what I mean? Like it is not set out, I'm going to make this happen. You know what I mean? Like if it happens, nice to have, you know, which I don't think is a bad thing to have those things on the list, right? But it's just like, what are you saying you are going to do unequivocally? If you don't, the blood, sweats, and tears of everything that you got is going to be laying behind you at the end of the year. Like, I didn't do it this year, but I'm very clear on how I can do it again next year because I know where I missed, you know?
The difference between a should and a must. Like
Yeah.
my must as far as personal income is a lot different than probably others. And the irony of that is no matter what I do, like I always find a way to get, my must as far as,
Mhm.
as income is concerned. And I see this in sales people all the time. I see this in real estate agents. I see this in people that we hire, right? Like if their must is X, you better believe they get X, But the problem is they generally don't get more than X, right? Unless they change their must, what they must have, what they must achieve. And one of the things that we know to be true is that people will do more for others than they do for themselves. And these days, most of my thinking is around my kids, and honestly, the people here in our company and the customers that we serve, right? Like that's a lot of what drives me personally. Like, how can I help them achieve more? How can I help this? How can I help that? We have a collective goal for the business. How can we get to that? Right? That's what drives me the most nuts, thinking about that on a regular basis. Like, got to do it, got to get up. And it's cool because it gives you, a reason to jump out of bed in the morning. I don't think there's anything better in life than that, personally,
I agree. And it's weird. It's weird getting to that point where it's like, the why is not just money driven,
Right.
And what else? Like, why is that? Like, what is the reason behind that? You know what I mean? Like, my paradigm completely changed when I was a single dude with no real tie down anywhere and whatever. Like, because I learned about the beauty of being able to stockpile a bunch of cash and just be able to live off of interest and investment and stuff. So like, ever since I was 19, my goal was $5.5 million in accumulated cash to be able to then live off of, right? 10%. So,
10%?
Yeah.
$550 a year?
Yep.
And just coast?
Yeah, just coast, right? Like that was from when I was 19, right? That was just the number, right?
Yeah.
And it was no reason why, no reason the 550, whatever. It was just like, that should be comfortable then. I don't know. Like there was no real thought out anything.
Sounds good to me.
Other than, okay, I'm going to get to that point and coast. And then I met Brittany, and then we had a kid, and it completely changed when he was old enough, and I started including them into what the goals were, because like the stuff that I wanted was just like, okay, if it happens, it happens. You know what I mean? But it was like, ever having to tell them no is the worst feeling I have internally. Is like, if I have to say something is not possible, or we can't do it, or we have to push it off, it is literally the thing that eats at me the most inside. So
we talked about this, yeah.
With those,
I'm the opposite.
Solid things for me, right?
I'm like, we can, but the answer is no. Because Dad ain't spending the money.
No. Right?
Well, but I put my lake house on the market, and just because the market's so hot up there right now, I was like, man, I might as well put the bait out there and see. I mean, if somebody gives me that kind of money, I'll take it. My son found out the other day, and he said, "How dare you?" And I said, "What?" He's 7, right? I'm like, "How dare I, boy?" Listen to here. Let me tell you something. You can get mad if I sell your Hot Wheel or your Power Wheel or your 4-wheeler, right? Like, but you don't get to make financial decisions. It's just so funny. Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah. So they're used to hearing no, and why? Because I'm not going to spend the money. Well, how much is it? No. Now we can talk.
Let me tell you. Yeah. And I think too, just to put a bow on it, it's once that becomes crystal and that's really your goal, then you have to reverse engineer how you're going to get there, and then track and make sure you're on pace, and it'll be the best thing that you've ever done.
Because be hard on yourself, but don't be too hard on yourself.
Right.
If you don't make it, just realize you're learning along the way. You're getting experience that is invaluable, and you're investing in yourself in a way that nobody can ever take it away from you. If you're like me and this whole political area has driven you nuts, and COVID has driven you nuts, and just kind of the PTSD flashbacks from the recession started to get to you for a minute, just remember you're learning things that again, nobody can ever take. They can't legislate it away from you. I mean, it's yours, and you can do it anytime, anywhere. And guess what? If there's some new curveball, you get to learn some more.
Amen. Right?
It's interesting to learn.
And it's fun.
It is fun.
It's all part of the process. And the activity of doing it will create a better version of you 100% of the time.
That's the goal. You're not who you need to be in order to achieve what you want to achieve. And you're going to become that person. And that's the journey. That's the process. That's the fun. That's the spice of life as far as business is concerned. And, I'm ready for round 2021.
Exactly. So today, if you haven't, write your goals down, put what you need to do every single day or working day, whatever it is, right? Like I break it down. We have 20 working days in the month of
I've always been impressed that you break it down to working days.
Like that's how I do the pacing is based off of working days, not the monthly days. So it's not as much of a crazy fluctuation day to day because the first day the year was a working day. The year was the 4th. So if you do it based off of days, you're way behind. To start off with, which is not a good thing. But if you have, just create the muscle that's like, if your goal is to make 100 calls, 12 calls, 25 calls, I don't give a shit what the goal is.
Right.
Write it down and then force yourself to enter it in every single day onto a spreadsheet. Start a Google, it's free. Go to Google Sheets, start a spreadsheet, daily tracker. The most important metric, you can start with 1. You should have more than 1, but start with 1 and be like, how many conversations am I going to have today? How many people am I going to talk to? If it's 3, go find yourself a laundromat and just walk in and be like, hey.
No, don't give them that advice. Get you some leads. Get you some leads of people coming to you so that when you call them, you can just say, hey, I'm just calling you back. You reached out to me. Are you looking to buy a house in the near future, right? Are you looking to put your house on the market in the near future? Life is much better when you eliminate rejection, when they're coming to you, put you in a position of empowerment. It changes the game, gets you some leads so you can do this. And if you have the wherewithal, get Market Maker because we're going to get you those leads. We're going to nurture those leads in a way that elevates your status and authority in the mind of those leads, and then ultimately deliver them to your calendar, which is what you would track. How many appointments you had, how many of those you actually kept, how many of those you actually met with, how many of those you actually turned into a customer and sold a house with. That's the goal. MarketMakerCall.com. Go check it out. Take us away, Jake.
As we always say here at Market Maker, you're only one pre-position appointment away.
Every day.
Per day. Go get it.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Happy New Year.